Good morning, ladies, and welcome to another episode of the Wealthy Woman podcast. I am your host, Rebecca Barr, aka the Femalepreneur Coach, and I am so excited to record this episode. This is essentially something that wasn't even on my plan. I had something else planned for today to record and talk about, but actually I was prompted by the universe, by a lady, a really lovely lady in my DMs that was asking me questions. And I've always said that I want this podcast to be of service. I want to add value. And this is essentially my response to her, because, you can only have so many conversations in the DMs backwards and forwards. So what she asked me was a question that I get asked a lot, which is how I get so much done, i.e. running successful businesses, writing books, doing creative projects, collaborations, having multiple business interests whilst pregnant with 5 children in tow. And I think that this is the thing, I don't only work with women that have children, but a lot of us do. And if we don't have children, we are wearing a lot of hats. So even before I had kids, I was all things to all people, doing a lot of things, working a lot of jobs, helping to care for family members, always had a lot of commitments. And that is just typical of women. But how do you prioritize your business and your goals and your desires and your potential when you've got so much else going on? Because for me, and this is a topic that I love to talk about, because this episode isn't an episode this isn't a masterclass in productivity. It's a masterclass in self-leadership. And the reality is, as a woman, you can absolutely have it all, but you cannot do it all. And I am yet to meet a man throughout my 40 plus years with a 3-page to-do list. So we need to really step back, reclaim our power, and start to become like the captain of our own ships and start to prioritize our own needs and our own goals and the things that we actually want to do so that we can live this fulfilled life. Not for everybody else, not with expectations of doing a million different things. And it's something that I feel really passionate about. So this was prompted because I'd written a post about a client that I was working with. Essentially, I did a call last night, and she has some incredible projects coming up, creative projects that she essentially needs to create space for, because as women, we are not Whitney Houston. We're not meant to be every woman. And when you are trying to do something new, you can't just add that to an already full plate. You're going to feel overwhelmed. You're going to be frustrated with yourself. You're not setting yourself up for success. And I know it's easy to say if you believe that, I've got loads of support and people around me and money and things to pay for things. But the reality is I've only got 2 family members, essentially, that can, I've got a younger brother and a younger sister. They live over an hour away, each of them. So they can't help me a lot with the kids. I have limited childcare, and I do have budget for support and all the things, but I am very strategic with where I am putting that energy. That's basically the moral of the story. Whether you've got no money, because obviously I've been building that business since I had no money, and since I've been a single parent, God, for years. So, I've never had that solid family unit and support and all of the resources at my disposal. I've always had to try and get more done with less time, less energy, less support. And if I can do it, hopefully then you'll see for yourself that you can do it. And this isn't because I'm so great, because it isn't at all. I am, I've got ADHD. I'm unfocused, I'm undisciplined. I am definitely not a type A personality, which is why I'm saying to you, this is not an exercise in productivity and getting more done. What I have learned over the years is what are the things that are actually going to push the needle in my business? What are the things that I do well and therefore absolutely need to be me, because they're going to get the most energetic bang for my buck and return on my investment of time? And what are the things that I've got no business doing, essentially? So what I wanted to share in this episode was just kind of expanding on the conversation that I had with this lady this morning. Because like I say, this new client, and I've had it before where women have come into me and they're going to be, oh my God, just going to be so proud of me. I got up at 5 o'clock this morning. I've done this, this, and this. And I'm like, girl, I am not getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning. Like, there is no part of me that wants any part of that. I really believe in longevity, sustainable business. And if you are the kind of person, and don't get me wrong, before I had kids and before I was pregnant, I loved an early morning. I loved to feel like I was winning and seizing the day and getting like things under my belt. But now I'm in the season of life where I don't want to be getting up at 5 a.m. It just makes me grumpy and tired. At best, I'll get up at like 6:30 if I really want to, just kind of spend some time with myself before the kids get up. But inevitably, if I get up, they get up. So I'm just elongating my day. So that doesn't really work for me anymore, particularly now I'm pregnant. I'm often feeling quite sick in the morning. So all of those things that used to be me no longer work for me. And I think equally there's a lesson in that, understanding yourself. So I actually did a masterclass on this recently as a guest expert in somebody else's group. And I wanted to share some of the thoughts that I had around that to make it a bit more of a structured episode, because it's great for me to say, like, just don't do anything that you don't want to do. But actually the reality is you sometimes still need to do these things because there isn't somebody else to defer to, i.e. a partner or a cleaner or somebody else. But I still think that we need to recognize as women, and I fully believe this is why most women's businesses don't grow to six figures and beyond, is because we are too busy trying to do everything ourselves. And here's the thing, a lot of us started our business because we wanted the flexibility to be available for kids and caring commitments, to have time freedom, not because we necessarily had this innate burning entrepreneurial like spirit that meant that we could approach our business in a very masculine way and identify all these opportunities. But there is a lot to be learned by the way that men work versus the way that women work. And obviously for me, having nearly 10 years of experience in business, it has been very clear to me. And I would how and why women's businesses fail. And it's because we're doing it on a bootstrap, we're doing it all ourselves. We are so scared to invest and go all in. We are doing it with one hand tied behind our back because we've got loads of other things going on, i.e. juggling childcare and kids. And if we are honest, are we treating it like a potential empire that could change our lives and that of our kids? No, because we are just too much in the survival day to day, but that's why they don't last. And again, for me as a mentor, it's balancing that out, because I was talking to my client about this yesterday, and it really depends on the season of business that you're in. So for me right now, I have young children. Do I know that I could add zeros to my revenue? Absolutely. Do I want to do the things and dedicate the time and energy and have that level of commitment in terms of resource and team and infrastructure in place to get to those big numbers whilst I'm pregnant, whilst my children are small? No, not really. What I'm looking for from my business is to go to bed every night feeling really satisfied that I've done all I can, that I've had the impact that I am meant to in this season of life, that I'm making a meaningful income that means that me and my kids can have a really great life. We just came back from traveling around France, which was beautiful. We're going to California in like 3 weeks. That for me is what freedom looks like. That for me is what building a business in alignment looks like. That for me is, success. And for somebody else, it will look very different. I've got clients that are making 30, 40K months. And for them, that's what makes them, literally fuels their passion. That's what success looks like for them. And they're in a different season to me, and that's absolutely fine. And I can still be their mentor and not have that level of discipline, focus, structure, routine as them in order to create that deliverable outcome. But I can still be here supporting and guiding them. And I know absolutely once the baby's here on the other side, then, it will be go time. Absolutely, like it was after I had Aviana. But I have to honor the season that I'm in as a woman. And next to money, like time is your greatest resource, and it's the one thing that you can't get back. So for me, I know that I can always make more money. I know that there'll always be more opportunities available to me. I know that my coaching business is not the only way that I can make money in this lifetime. And that's why I have multiple business interests and why I never put all of my eggs in one basket, why I've always got other projects going on. I still look at commercial units and brick and mortar businesses because I'm an entrepreneur at heart, and I know that there is nothing but abundance that surrounds us ladies. So hopefully this will inspire you to do the same. But what I wanted to share with you was a couple of practical things. And I say a couple, I've got like a whole list. So I'll just kind of go through the ones that I feel are most relevant, because equally I know what it's like when you ask these conversations, like, how do you do it all? And then you get a really vague antiquate, like just unhelpful answer. So there are practical elements. Don't get me wrong. There are things that I need to do in order to, show up, in order to make sure that I'm making money. I'm doing the minimum. And here's the thing. There's, again, even within this current year, there are energetic ebbs and flows in my business. So for me, we're in the summer right now. I am doing essentially the bare minimum of what I need to be doing in my business. So I'm not going live. I've just taken a gentle approach back to my podcast after sorting out all of the technical issues, but I'm not, I don't have a rigid structure. I'm not on calls every day. If anything, I think I've only got 3 calls this week. That's hardly a lot of work, is it? Let's get some perspective here. When I think about what I was doing back in the day when I was in corporate and it was the summer holidays, mum guilt central, having to take a week off and cram absolutely everything in. And then the rest of the time, just kind of waving my kids goodbye as I hand them over to my mum or family member. Obviously, she isn't here anymore, but that was my experience the summer holidays, and it was torture. And then even when I had my brick and mortar businesses that required a lot more energy and time of me, again, a lot of that self-imposed because it actually didn't need that from me, but I felt like I needed to be, and in control, and there, and I couldn't trust anybody, and I couldn't invest in the right team, and just a lot of push energy, a lot of toxic masculine, hustle while they sleep, #boss babe, that. I was in that season when I built those businesses. And again, summer holidays was a time where I constantly felt guilty. The kids are in the shop, I'm hustling, maybe doing little bits here and there, but not really enjoying the summer with the kids. When it came to my coaching business and I've got complete autonomy and flexibility, I'm going to build it in an intentional way where I can have these seasons of ebbs and flows, So for me right now, this is an ebb because the kids are around. We've done so many beautiful day trips, days out. I've had 2 of the kids' birthdays. We've stayed away, but equally, I can't. Well, I could, if I wanted to, take 6 weeks out of my business, but why would I want to? I get so much satisfaction and joy from it. And again, ladies, self-leadership, what do you need? And for me, I love being on calls with my clients. That really energizes me. I love the business of business. I find it really activating, motivating. So I don't need to switch off from my business to get a break, or because I'm overwhelmed, or any of those things, because it doesn't even feel like work anyway. But equally, and sounds quite crass, but I'm not going to kick the arse out of it. My kids are home and I want to be with them. And I've got a daughter now who's 13. She's going to be 14 this year. How many more summers do I have with her? The reality is probably not that many, because she's a savage and she's really loves her friends, loves her dad. She's very black and white about these things, whereas I'm very sentimental, very emotional. I'm like, don't ever leave, don't ever move out. She's like, well, if I want to, I will. And I'm like, okay. So the reality is, how many more of those summers have I got with her here, fully present and around? So, and equally with the babies, I need to make the most of that time. So I have, like I say, just built my business in a way where I can do the bare minimum essentially, and also be supported by a team. So that's the thing as well. So the first thing I want to pose to you to actually get some value and structure to this episode is for you to think about, what are you actually doing? And that's always the main thing. Whenever a client comes to me and they're like, I'm overwhelmed, I'm so busy, I've got so much going on right now, I can't get it all done. My first question is what are you doing? Because really, business doesn't need to be that hard. All you need to do in order to, and this is coming from a business coach, but what I've realized is that a lot of business coaches will overcomplicate the process. A lot of sales coaches will overcomplicate the process and tell you that you need to be on 24/7. You've got to be in the DMs in the morning, noon and night. You've got to be posting constantly. You've got to be chasing people down to make money. And the reality is, you don't. If you charge appropriately, if you know the value that you bring to the table, if you hold the energy of, it sucks to be you if you don't work with me. And that sounds arrogant, but it's true. You have to show up like you're a big deal, because you are, because the journey that you've been on, you know, the time and energy and commitment that you've made to mastering your craft, whatever that is, like, you know. So if you sit there in good conscience and think, do you know what? I have a lot of value to share with the world. I have I've dedicated hours to learning this stuff inside and out, or I have perfected my products, or something along those lines. Like, you know that in yourself. So it's time to start owning it. Stop being so self-deprecating and humble. Clients buy confidence, clients buy conviction, they buy your your conviction in their results, essentially. I can confidently sit here and say, if you work with me, I'll change your life. And that isn't just because I think I'm the shizzle, although I am, because I know I am, because I know that I've spent years studying way more than I need to, way more than I needed to in order to add value to somebody else's life. But I am above and beyond type person. So if I'm going to learn something, I'm going to learn it from every angle. I'm going to learn it from the practical, the strategic, to the metaphysical and the spiritual, because that's who I am at my very core. So therefore, if you work with me, you're not getting one modality. I think last time I'm certified in 7 different modalities, possibly 8, because I really want to be able to give such a holistic approach to the work that I do. And also, I'm getting that feedback from my clients that say, you literally changed my life. You have literally transformed my life. I don't even recognize myself anymore. And that's how I know that I am the shizzle. So therefore, I don't need to lowball my prices. I don't need to tap dance online and, convince people to work with me. If you don't work with me, there'll be somebody else that will take your money, of course. But will they care as much as I do? Will they bring all of the USPs and my unique journey and my spin to it? Of course they won't, because nobody else can be me. And that's the authority, that's the conviction, that's the confidence that you need to bring to the table to what you're doing in business. That means you don't need to then sell to hundreds of clients at crazily, almost insulting low ticket prices. That means that you're not getting an equal exchange for the value that you bring to the table. So therefore, if you're only working with more of a intimate selection of clients or an intentional selection of clients, do you need to be on every platform doing everything? No, you just need to speak and connect with the people that you can help. So that's the thing. A lot of the things, when I speak to people, they are doing so many things that they're not getting traction behind any of them because they're spreading themselves too thin. They're doing a lot of unnecessary things that aren't actually going to get them to the good bit of business. They are not doing the things that are actually going to move the needle in their business and get them some money coming in. They're almost delaying the receiving of the money, and they're busy doing other things. And you have to ask yourself, why is that? Why are you doing these things? And it's typically because there'll be so many things, but it will be expectations and beliefs that, we need to hustle while everybody else sleeps. We need to be a #boss babe. You've got to work hard for your money, and working hard is relative, which we know about. But equally, it will be that we get a lot of validation. If we're really honest, we feel in control and we feel validated when we are busy and needed. And even when it comes to motherhood, I absolutely was the martyr mum for, I'd say, the first part of my journey. So I like to think my journey in motherhood is almost in 2 halves, in that I had the corporate version of me who had the kids very much in militant, structured routines. I had a very clear set of ideals and values, and this is how my kids are going to be raised, and they're going to go to this college and all these things. And then, you've got the pharaoh aspect of me, where I became an entrepreneur. I really became the wealthy woman that I am today. And wealth is more than just money. It's, a vibe, a mood, an attitude, a self-belief, self-trust, self-leadership. I became the wealthy woman that I am today. And everything that I thought I knew about parenting kind of went out the window. And all of those things that I validated myself on, i.e. the transactional activities and being in service to my kids, suddenly didn't make sense anymore. And it was actually, for me as a mum, kind of going off topic here, my value is not in how many snacks can I prepare, how many, how nice can their bedroom look. Now, don't get me wrong, I get a lot of satisfaction from these things, so I still do them anyway. But I know that isn't where my value is as a mother. It's about being a female leader. It's about letting my kids know that they're loved. And that starts with me fully loving myself, because if I can't do it and I'm their Beyonce, their North Star, then what hope do they have? So I've also got to be the embodiment of the values that I want to impart onto those kids. I've got to do the work, make sure that my shizzle doesn't become their shizzle. And essentially, I just need to nurture and facilitate their individual passions and personalities. And that's what I've done, which means that all of the things that I thought I knew, like I say, the transactional elements and being in service to my kids that I thought I needed to do, none of that suddenly matters. It's about all of the other things. It's about me being happy, being whole, being healed. It's about me prioritizing my needs and goals. And this is where the business element comes in. If I need to do work, but that's going to benefit the family, I'm going to have that conversation with my kids, because again, they need to understand that it is okay as a woman, and equally I've got sons as well, it's okay as an adult and as a parent to be more than one thing, and to be somebody who has passions and goals and interests and other things going on. It doesn't mean I love them any less, and they know that. It doesn't mean that they are not a priority. It doesn't mean that I won't, again, equally create, when we're intentionally planning my week, it's so that there's always a balance. It's like one day on, one day off, one day on, one day off. So when I am then with them, I bring the same passion. Like, it's all about intentionality, quality over quantity. It's all of those things. But for a long time, I was the other way, where I just felt like, well, as a mum, I need to be a martyr. My house needs to be spotless. The kids need to be immaculate. And it's so funny when I look back at pictures, because my first two daughters, like literally every day, their hair was braided to perfection. The outfits were coordinated and matching, bow central. And it was very much on me just kind of pouring into them in a way that was validating me as a mother, especially as a working mum, where I felt like I wasn't there for a lot of the things. As long as I knew that they had left the house like somebody loved them, that kind of really validated me as a mum. But now I've got my 2-year-old. Well, she's 3 actually. She just had a birthday the other day. I can't even get a hair bow in that hair for love nor money. She is completely feral. She is a savage. She is wild. Does it mean that I love her any less? Absolutely not. Does it mean that I spend any less time with her? Absolutely not. But what I'll do instead is facilitate activities for her. I'll take her to the park. Like, we'll go run it out. Like, we'll go do other things, because I realized that her leaving the house immaculate, first of all, that's not her. But also, what a waste of time and energy, when actually I could be using that time and energy cumulatively throughout the week to take her to the park instead, and actually have fun and laugh. And like, things have just shifted for me so much as a mother. So the first question you need to ask yourself is, if you're feeling overwhelmed and you have a to-do list that is like 3 pages, what the hell are you doing? And where are you putting your time and energy? Like, does it make sense? Is there a sense of expectation? Like, I used to laugh because my mum lived with me at one point, and then I ended up renting her the cottage opposite my house, because obviously, we drove each other crazy. And she would often like phone me up at 10 o'clock at night after I'd done work all day, and, sorted out all the kids and they're in bed and this is my time. She would then phone me and say, just to let you know, you need to wash the kitchen floor tonight, because obviously I forgot to tell you that earlier. Can you make sure that's done before the morning? And I'd be like, no, that is not a priority for me right now, but thanks, Mum. And she would go on about the most ridiculous things, but that's the generation that she grew up in. Your house had to be spotless. And don't get me wrong, I love an organized house for me. And this is the thing, there's no shade. If you are the kind of person, I watch loads of TikToks, other people cleaning their house, and it's so therapeutic. And cleaning is my therapy, but not cleaning in the sense that, I need to do my toilet 100 times a day or any of those things. I love organization. So part of my human design is to make things better. And I'm constantly looking at like, what are the bottlenecks in our family? What are the things that make it stressful where it doesn't need to be? how do we fix that? What, is there a storage solution? Is there a process? Is there a system? How can I make that more efficient so the kids can be more self-led? So we do like the snack boxes every morning for the summer holidays, because I'm not like concierge waitress. None of that is a good use of my time or energy, and is actually costing me money. So I like to empower the kids to, self-select and all the things like, what do you want? So we just came back from France, like I say. That was a road trip, and I got the kids to help me with all of that prep, because there was so much to do. Can you imagine taking 5 kids away? All of the amount of stuff that we needed to take, like filling up the car and all the things. And I was like, I am not going to be like the only dick doing all of this stuff, as much as I love it. And I, need to keep on top of it all and all the things. And I need to know what's going on and make sure that we've got everything we need. There's a fun element to this. It's holiday. It's exciting. It's getting things ready. The kids can help me with this. So again, like each of them got their little snacky boxes, and they had to fill them up. Obviously, each one of them loves different things. So again, like that's your responsibility. Pick out the snacks that you want to take with you. I'll then oversee it, make sure that there's actually something nutritional value in there somewhere. But they did all that, and that took ages. And I was like, God, if that was me, like what a waste of time that would have been. So it's also about challenging the expectations that you currently have. Now, if you get a lot of joy from cleaning your toilet and doing these things, more power to you, and absolutely do those things. But equally, it's kind of getting underneath that, because if you're a business owner, doing all of these menial repetitive tasks is actually costing you money. And when you sit down and think about how much money you could potentially be making in that time versus, cleaning, for an example, where there is no end goal. That's the thing. So for me, cleaning is kind of like an escape. It's not a chore. So I will do it if I'm feeling overwhelmed with other things and I just want something manageable that I can kind of keep on top of. Or like I say, there's an opportunity to improve something there. I'll do it all. I'll get it all out. We'll do a whole big thing, like pull out all the cupboards, pull out everything. And that feels really satisfying, because there's a start, a middle, and an end. There's an outcome from that. And I'm going to feel better when it's done. General maintenance and cleaning, there is no satisfaction in that. Like my poor dishwasher goes on like 100 times a day. I'm never going to get to the end of that task, because it's just continual energy that's going to continue to flow. So therefore, that is a waste of my time. Like I've got a 13-year-old teenager who is more than capable of loading a dishwasher, and she does. So that is her chore. If I had a partner, maybe that would be something to be shared. So it's about understanding like your hourly rate. What are you doing? And where are your energy leaks? So if you're not sure and you're like, no, I have to do absolutely everything on my list needs to be me, then again, like just give yourself permission to do a little maybe time exercise where you're also lying to yourself about what you're doing. You're telling yourself, I'm super busy, super productive. And then typically when I challenge that and say, okay, what are you doing? They got no idea. They don't know what they're doing, but they just know that they're busy. So if you don't have that awareness, you can't change anything. So what are you, do a time exercise, actually look at what the hell am I doing? I know I'm busy. I know I'm doing 100 things, but what actually are they? And then you can, and this isn't from judgment. This isn't from shame. We're not here to like be hard on ourselves. Throughout the whole of this exercise, about having compassion for yourself as a woman, because, it's hard enough. But actually just write it down and think of all the things that you've got done. Were they the things that you wanted to get done? Were they the things that moved you closer to your goals, or did they move you further away? Were they the things that absolutely needed to be you and that you got joy from? And if they're not, then they need to go. You can always delegate it to somebody else. You can automate it in some way, even dinner. I am not a passionate cook. Obviously I've got to feed my kids. It's kind of frowned upon if you don't. They are relying on me to feed them 100 times a day, but there are, so we eat out a lot, like, when it gets to the weekends, and that has just become part of our family culture. Like that's typically where we'll spend time with my brother and my sister, because I don't want to use them as like unpaid babysitters, when there's very practical solutions that can help me with childcare. I want to use them for that family time, that quality time, that bonding time with the kids. So we tend to go out and eat with them, maybe once or twice a month. And that is like a whole vibe and energy. And that just takes something off my list, i.e. feeding the kids. But in theory, I could do Uber Eats, I could do Just Eat, I could get like meal delivery services. It's not £1,000,000, ladies. Stop telling yourself you can't afford it. Even a cleaner, I was shocked at how little it costs to get somebody to come around. My cleaner, I literally pay her like £15 to £20 an hour. Like, that is not a huge deal when you consider what I can make in that hour instead, by selling my services and offering them. And, again, where else are you wasting £15 to £20 a week? If that is going to be a game changer and that's going to help you to feel like you're supported and step into the wealthiest version of you, it is worth that money all day long. And stop telling yourself that you can't afford it, because even when I've been absolutely broke, my kids will still have everything. They're still getting a all out Christmas. They're still getting birthdays, because you'll move heaven and earth for the people that matter to you and for the things that matter to you. And the reality is, you are just not making yourself one of those things that matters to you. And that's the reality. And when I started to look at it, it was like, wow, yeah. Because if my son came and said I wanted to start a football thing, I would find that money. It would happen, like whether I had any money or not, it's going to happen, because it's for the kids. When it comes to me, it's always a maybe. In the future, could do, like, we'll get there. It will go on the vision board. Like, what is that about? So I want you to start challenging these things for yourself. Obviously, I've mentioned, like, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? Then equally, who are you doing it with? Because it's a very different energy exchange when you are doing things with people that are not supporting you, people that are not lifting you up along the way. For me, there's lots of, so I just want to give you a couple examples actually that I was thinking about in the shower this morning. So I had a business venture. The other person was so different to my energy type that it felt like when we were doing things, activities, planning, creation, it was like pulling teeth. It was such hard work. It was really taxing. It was really frustrating. It took 5 times longer than it would have done if I'd done it by myself. And that should be the other way around. So I think that was quite telling that actually maybe it wasn't meant to be. Because there's been other times where I've been working collaboratively with other women where it has been amazing. Like, the time has passed, everything's flowed, like we're just getting shit done. Like, it's literally amazing. Equally, what's it like when you go and do a food shop with the kids versus without them? Or if you're going around IKEA with a friend who is just excited to be there with you versus a partner who just sits and moans and whines. It really takes the fun and the energy out of that situation. So it's also about being mindful, as I said, about who are you doing it with, and are they the right person to be doing it with? Are they draining your energy? Then equally, so if you've got expectations, somebody has just literally started drilling outside. I'm hoping that some of this will be masked. I don't know. But there is also, what was I going to say? Sorry, I've totally lost my train of thoughts now. Energy drains versus activators. If you've got things on your list with people that you are doing from a place of expectation, rather than actually wanting to do it with that person, i.e. for a long time I was on the PTA, I had mums at school that would ask me for coffee, there'd be a certain element of expectation, there'd be family members that I would feel that I would need to spend time with because they're family and I can't really say no. And part of me becoming an entrepreneur and really treating my business like a business was starting to reevaluate those friendships, those commitments, those things that were taking me away from my business. And actually they had to go because they were costing me money. They were draining my energy and they weren't a good use of my time. Then I was coming away and feeling either really crap, really judged, really energetically tired because that didn't fill my cup up. That wasn't an energy activator. That was an energy drain that I was spending time with. But also then I've still got all this other stuff that I need to do. So it was like, wow, I've just literally put myself back 2-3 hours for something that wasn't even worth it. Didn't even feel good. So I'd love for you to ask yourself those questions. What are you doing? Why are you doing them? And who are you doing them with? That will really help you to start to be more strategic with your time and energy so that you can actually get to the good bit of business. Now, and obviously ensure that you are delegating, automating, and eliminating anything that doesn't serve you in your business or doesn't need to be you. So now I want you to think about some of the practical stuff. So I've got, as I mentioned, I have got never been formally diagnosed, but I certainly identify with a woman who has ADHD, and I always have done. And I found lots of practical workarounds that will help me with that situation, and managing my energy, my focus, my time. But the reality is, I need creative freedom in my business to make sure that I am not having to do like long drawn out tasks and all the things. As I've said, for me, multitasking is an absolute no-no, because it really stresses me out. It overwhelms me. It means that I am just constantly in conflict with my brain. I have to set my mind to something and get it done quickly. So I wanted to share a few little practical tips that will hopefully help you to also be more productive with the time and energy that you've got. So the first thing is like theming your day. So for me, like I said, I have 2 days a week childcare. Mondays for me is all about creation. So I don't typically have calls. I'm not in delivery mode with my clients. I will be recording my podcast episodes. I will be creating my socials. I will be creating new resources, maybe filming new modules for my academy or my masterminds. And I'm very much in that creative flow, like writing blog posts, doing my newsletter, and just kind of pottering about and doing me, and just kind of little old me over here. But I will have a list of things that I need to get done in that day. And I never give myself more than 3 things, because who the hell am I? Like, you've got to be realistic with what you can actually achieve in the short term versus the long term, because it all compounds, right? And as long as I get those 3 things done, I feel like Beyonce. I am good. I know I have done something that's going to add value. I know that I'm doing something that is useful, meaningful, can only be me, and is ultimately going to all compounds and add up in my favor in some way or another. I won't give myself more. I will still have a bigger to-do list, obviously, but I won't give myself more to do than that. And then on my Thursdays, that is all about client delivery. So it's all about camera facing, creating space. I know that even with my best energetic practices and protecting my energy, that it takes a lot out of me to be on for hours of calls back to back. So therefore, I won't have anything in the evening plans. I won't necessarily have anything for the next day, because it takes a lot of energy and I'm going to be tired. And that's the reality, So I think it's also knowing yourself, but being able to stay within these 2. And don't get me wrong, I do little bits and pieces throughout the week. Even if the baby's here, I can still answer emails. I can still spend an hour on my laptop. I can still check in with team members. I can still do little bits and pieces, but none of that needs my whole heart and soul focus, because I've already done that on the Monday. I've already done that thinking stuff, that strategic overview, and it's just kind of maintenance and checking in and touch points, things that I could do in my sleep. So that's how I set my week up. And again, anything else that doesn't need to be me, uploading, editing, doing all of the things, I have a VA that supports me with that. And again, you'll be surprised at how cost effective these things can be. So you can go onto Fiverr and get a social media manager for a couple of £100. You can get a VA for like £7 an hour. It's not expensive. Stop telling yourself that you can't afford it. Another thing that really helps me is planning my day ahead. Now, particularly if you do it the night before, because then what happens is your unconscious brain if you remind yourself of the plan for the day before, you've got the whole time that you're asleep in the evening to get on board with that plan for the next day. Therefore, that means you just get into the day and you hit the ground running, because you already know what you need to do and you're just getting it done. There's less resistance than sitting every morning and thinking, what do I need to do? Because it's such an overwhelming concept. There's no end of things that you need to do, but what do you actually need to do? So it's about that conversation with yourself. What was I going to say on that? So obviously I theme my days, I plan ahead and review the night before. Don't switch between tasks. Don't try and do like a little bit of this, a little bit of that, a little bit over there. It's very bad for your brain. Essentially, we're not meant to multitask, and it's very energy draining. Uphold your boundaries. Obviously, even with the kids, I have to have conversations around, Mummy needs to get this done. You just need to let me focus for like 20 minutes. You know, I'm lucky I've got older children, although my oldest is only 13. You know, if they need to sit with the baby and put a Disney film on and some popcorn or snacks, they can do that for 20 minutes whilst I'm sitting next to them, or in the next room, but just while I'm getting a couple of bits done that maybe I need to do that I hadn't anticipated. Give yourself that freedom, have those conversations. Or if it's with a partner where it's like, yes, I'd love to come and do this thing, but actually that doesn't make sense for me to do that right now. I need to get this done, and then later we can do that. Block out your time and keep yourself accountable. I love time blocking. It really helps me to stay focused. Like I said, I can't do it for long periods of time. The most I can do is like an hour, 45 minutes. But with that accountability and that intention, I can get so much done in that time. We're like fish tanks. We expand the time that we have available. So if you start to become really strict with yourself and actually say, you've got 45 minutes, go, let's go, you'll be amazed at what you can do in that time. Celebrate your wins and review your progress, because it's not just about getting through a to-do list. It's about recognizing all of the things that you're doing. If something isn't working for you right now, rather than looking inwards, just approach it with a critical mind. If you're not bringing in sales, like, why is that not happening? What part of the process is not currently working for me? If I'm feeling overwhelmed, what is not working for me? And just really get into that solutions-based mindset. Ensure that you've got your eyes on the prize, you stay focused so that you can stay motivated. For me, my vision board is literally opposite me. When I'm sitting at this desk, it's go time. Like, we're here to get things done. And, you know, I am always like in that focused mindset, because otherwise what the hell is it all for? I've also got things that help me. So I use a lot of voice notes. I keep folders on my phone. So if I'm doing other things, rather than thinking, oh, I need to stop what I'm doing, go away, write this down, and it takes me away from time with the kids or other things that I'm doing, I'll just pop it onto my phone and give myself permission to mentally switch off from that and come back to it later. Then when I'm sitting here on a Monday, I've got a whole like load of stuff that I can tap into that can get the inspiration flowing. And also, never stop growing. Give yourself permission to let it be easy. Always prioritize your own personal growth. And that, for me, like, no matter how busy I am, I'm still signing up for courses. I'm still working with mentors. I'm still reading books. I am still growing and evolving, because I will never be done. And that is the journey. It's not just about getting to the next milestone, getting to the next thing. It is about your continual evolution, you know? So make sure that you never stop learning and commit to that. So I hope you found this episode useful. There's probably so many things that I'm going to go away and think, oh, I should have mentioned that. But let me know your feedback. And I hope that you've really enjoyed it.